In today's video blog, we are going to look at printing. And to be frank and upfront with you, I'm not a big fan of the printing functionality of Executive. It is okay, and it is mostly worth the effort when you're preparing a report. Let's say you've prepared a report and then you have an accounting clerk that needs to run it once a month. And you leave instructions like, run this report once a month and hand it out to everyone, where the user is not an executive, a Q&A executive user. On casual ad hoc reports I would create, as a routine matter, I would just export them to Excel and print from Excel. But for a routine report being run by someone who's not really familiar with the software and maybe not technologically savvy, where you just want to give instructions, change these prompts and run it and print it and pass it out, then it's worth the while to set up the printing functionality. Also, you'll want to learn how to modify the printing functionality if you are having problems with the financial statements. And so what you'll learn here, if on the printing of the financial statements you may need to change a margin of the paper size or something of that sort, and add a logo, and if you are interested in doing any of that, then you'll learn how to do it with this video. And so this is a report we have made, and I've extracted it already, and so we already have made it and run it, and we have the numbers and the breakout, and now we want to talk about printing it. So we'll go over here to Output, and we'll click Output and bring down that, and you can see that there's the outputting to Microsoft Office covered in a previous video, and then we have print and PDF. As a matter of course, when I want something to be in PDF, I print it and then use the print to PDF function on my computer, not the executive function, to get it to PDF. However, there's some times where you'd want to use the PDF function of Executive. I know several people who are using it as part of their business process. Well, I will tell you that these two functions work exactly the same. So if you know how to make it print, then the same formatting or print controls that you have here operate under the PDF. So if you learn this one, you almost have that one down pat. So we hit print, and you get to this screen. Now, if you were to print at this moment, let's look at what we would end up with. So here's the preview. So this is just taking the raw document that we made in an earlier video, and we print, and let's just see what would happen if we printed. You see, we'd have this page here printed, and to print sheet 1, which was the summary for all of the departments, it took 3 pages. You can see it had a tailing thing of that sort, and then it had a blank page it threw in. Likewise, those grids and the bold outline and the header there would be printed. All pretty tacky. So here is the accounting department's report, taking 3 pages to print, 1 page with this sort of orphaned lines here, another just a blank page, and the grid lines showing. So all of that is pretty unacceptable, and so this is the way we're going to modify it, and me showing you how to modify this baby should teach you about everything I know about printing. Now we want to expand that. This is saying print this page, print this page, print this page. So if we don't want to print this summary page, we would unclick that. Likewise, we want the worksheet profile. I will explain this to you later. So if we click this, it will unselect all of that. And so this page is all set, ready to go, but it's still not suitable. but we've made things slightly better. And so here we could select the copies, but where we want to do is go to page setup. Page setup operates over here, and here on all of the pages here we talk about we could select a general orientation for all of the pages, landscape orientation or portrait. We can select the we could select paper size here, and this contents page, I will tell you that if you want a sort of a page stuck at the beginning that explains all the other pages, you could click this and edit what goes on the contents page. It's worth the experimentation, but I will tell you that more people talk to me about how to get the contents page not to print than how to get it print. Most people are not satisfied with having it print. They feel like it wastes paper, and so that's particularly true on the financial statements. And so if you unclick that, that front page that is sometimes printed on some financial statements would be gone. It's sort of a wasted piece of paper as far as most people are concerned. Okay, now so we want to format, and we have the ability, this is also sort of a poor form programming here. So we have ability to define the format on each of these pages. And that is done with a profile. Now this is the only conceptually interesting part here, challenging part. Let's add a profile. This profile that we're about to make is going to be assigned to whatever pages that we want it assigned to. So our general sheet is about 4 or 5 columns wide and about 20 or 30 lines long, and so we're going to make a profile that fits that configuration, and then we're going to apply the profile to every page that we want it to apply to. So in a complex financial report, we may have 2 or 3 profiles. One profile to make the sheet. Let's say we have one page in our report that is lots of columns, maybe 10 columns wide and very short and stubby, so we want a landscape page with certain margins for that. So we would build a profile and apply it to that page. Another page of our report may be 4 columns wide and long, and so we'd build a profile that would fit to that, and all other 4 column pages wide, 4 wide. So just to let you know, we're building a profile that we hope that we can apply to several pages at one time. In our case, all of our pages are exactly the same, so we're going to build one profile that works for all pages. So let's add a profile, and we're building a worksheet profile. And here things will start being fairly intuitive, where you don't really need much from me. First off, let's name the profile just 4 columns. Okay, or and to be more precise, let's just say 3 columns. I'm just making this up here, and so we'll do 3 columns, and I happen to know where I'm headed, so I'm going to go call this 3 columns with logo. Okay, is a sheet, as a profile that I'm currently making, and we have these 4 tabs across here. The coolest one is this one here with margins, where we're able to set the size of our header section and the width of our header section, which can be different than the width of our main body. You see, we may want to have it of this sort. The header height, you see, you can hear, and then this is the data section, and what is the left and right margin of that, and then the same goes on with the footer, and then this takes care of the right hand side of the page. And there's dragging abilities here. You can drag the whole thing over, so you could see the value if you've got to move it over. So you have a binding margin, you'd have a binding margin along the side here, and so forth. Okay, and you can set your margins that way. This tab has all kinds of great features. Do you want it to center? How do you want it to align horizontally? Okay. A lot of people sort of fan of left, but my picky, obsessive compulsive nature, I want everything on the left side and I want it at the top. That's my personal nature of things. So you can see how it has moved over to the left and to the top of the data section. You see, so if it were centered, it would go over here to that's so here. This is the alignment similar to a vertical and horizontal alignment in Excel. Do you want to print titles? Okay, a title section. And titles, this would be where you have a constant row which you want to repeat at the top of every page. You see, so if you have a report that goes to many pages, you'd want to use this so the title carries over to the next second and third and fourth page, the headers, so to speak. That function is just like it is in Excel. And we've already decided we do not want the grid lines, okay? And I like to take the color off, okay? We don't want any of that. And then the page order, if you overlap the page, I don't completely understand when I would ever change this. And then me personally, I like to not print the headers and not to print the footers. And here is a very common and very friendly feature we have from Excel, where you do the print scale. So if you want to do automatically fit the page, where you're shrinking it so it fits the page, you can do that. Okay, very familiar to Excel experts. Okay, setting here. Now this setting is going to override the portrait landscape I showed you earlier. This portrait landscape, this will be a page by page, worksheet by worksheet instruction here. So some of your pages can be portrait if they're narrow and tall, and your short and fat ones can be landscape. And then image, we can add an image, and so we'll just add an image here. And this is a whole other functionality that could be a video on its own, but let's see if I can't add one real fast. Okay, and this image functionality is is a warehouse of images always available in Executive. So when I load it in here, it is available for all of my Executive reports. And so let me just remove a couple for beauty's sake. Let's just remove all of them, and let's say I want to add the organization logo, and I happen to know where mine is, and so I load it, and I load the foot logo, and this has loaded it into a images warehouse, so to speak, available for all Executive reporting. And then I am going to click. I've got this clicked. Now the added it to the warehouse. Me clicking it here and clicking OK adds it to my document. Okay, and it added it to my document, but we're at this little formatting stage of where do I want to add it. And in our case, we want to add it into the header. Okay, and so we've got the title in there, and let's just align it to the left. I think that looks pretty cool. And you can have all this functionality here about changing the image formatting within the image box, and we go OK. And as wheels within wheels, and so let's go back to our margins and see if we're happy with that. And it looks like things are okay with that. Okay, and so I think we've got our settings right. Okay there. And now we'll take this document. Right at this moment, if we preview this document, we get nothing, so to speak. Okay. None of the effects that we have made have been applied to any sheet. You say, hey, whoa, what have we been doing all that stuff for? Well, all we've done is create the profile, and now we want to apply the profile to the sheets that we want to use it with. Now, in a real-to-life situation, I would say apply to all, because I won't want to use this for all of them. In just a second I will click it, but I want to show you how to apply it. Let's suppose, hypothetically, that this form right here needed to have this profile. That is it. We had a different profile for this sheet and this sheet. This sheet and this sheet needed the profile, but the others had a different profile. So we could take this children's ministry and we apply it. See, we've got it selected here, and we apply it, and it pops right here. 3 columns pops in there, and then we want to use that profile because they're the same basic deal, and we do that there. And then perhaps we have a different profile we apply to the others. Now, some people make a profile for every page in their report, financial report. And there's one beauty of that. If I've got a problem with a page, I go and change that profile, and that page is now okay. However, if there's a problem with every one of the pages, that exactly the same problem, I've got to go to every one of the profiles and change it. Let's say, for example, I have a report that I now want to add a larger left margin because I'm going to bind it on the left. I would have to go to every one of those profiles and add to the left margin to get it to accommodate the binding. But if I use just one profile, then all I would have to do is change that one profile, and then all of the documents would change. So I actually like using the functionality of custom building 4 or 5 profiles that sort of fit all of my needs, and using them everywhere I go, including a logo and so forth. You know, a 3-column profile, a 4-column profile, a landscape profile with 8 columns and 10 columns, and then using them in every one of my reports. And I pass them from report to report to report by exporting them and then importing them into a new report. This is a very simple little functionality of exporting my profiles and then importing them into the new document. So what that means is, if you put a lot of effort into coming up with a very nice profile, you can get some economies from all of your work by just having a profile for each sort of setup of document that you really like and that you really take good care of, and it's available for all of your reports. And so we've applied this, and so let's apply it to all, and let's take a peek at what we have now in our preview. Okay, now remember, that's blank, but remember we said that we didn't want that printed, so we're not surprised at that. Okay, and so here we have this document. You see it's printing the header from there. I'm not too happy with that. Okay, and it's printing a blank page there. So we've got a fairly nice looking report, but we've got our header showing up and we're printing an extra page. So let's see if we can't figure out what that's all about. So we'll close that, and we'll go back to our profile and edit that profile, and let's take out our print headers and see, we've had a little bit of playing around with that. Let's preview that now. So we've gotten rid of our headers being printed in. We still have this in the header section. Alright, so I've come back down into my profile, and on this profile I have clicked Fit to Pages Wide 1. And so it was picking up all that extra columns and at the bottom, and I just said, don't do that, just print one page for my entire report. And so when we preview it, it now is just one page for each page. Okay. And so that is how you print. Just to go over it again, you build a profile, the profiles that fit the general description of your reports, your pages of your report, and then you apply the profile to the pages that are all the same. I hope that you get some benefit from this, and it's a real blessing to you as you carry on your ministry.